Did we just witness the birth of a new global alliance or the dawn of a geopolitical battlefield? When former U.S. President Donald Trump and Argentina's firebrand leader Javier Milei met behind closed doors, the world felt a tremor. Within hours, but announced a shocking $20 billion bailout for Buenos Aires, a move so massive it rattled global markets and military strategists alike. But here's the question that has the Pentagon and every intelligence desk whispering. Why now? Why would America unleash billions into a collapsing economy halfway across the globe unless something far bigger was at stake? Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Cover the pulse of global power, defense, and military technology reshaping our world. As the news broke, satellite feeds over South America lit up. U.S. transport aircraft were spotted moving in formation, heavy lift C-17 Globemasters touching down on Argentine runways, and whispers of new radar systems being quietly installed. Something monumental is unfolding, and we're decoding the military shadow behind the money, how a financial lifeline could become the foundation for a full-scale strategic alliance, armed to the teeth and ready to shift global dominance. Before the handshake, Argentina was gasping for air. The peso was collapsing, inflation exploding past 300%, and its military, once proud, was reduced to outdated tanks and grounded fighter jets. Milei called it economic war. He wasn't exaggerating. In the halls of Washington, Trump's advisors painted a dire picture: resource, rich nation on the verge of falling into Chinese and Russian influence. Lithium reserves in the north, enough to fuel next-generation drones and electric defense systems, were slipping away from Western hands. That's when the idea struck: turn Argentina's economic collapse into America's strategic opportunity. Within weeks, a fleet of U.S. C-130 Hercules began ferrying economic aid, but experts noticed something unusual. These weren't just supply runs. On board were containers marked classified defense systems. Leaked images revealed components resembling Patriot SAM launchers, radar arrays, and AI-based surveillance grids. The $20 billion wasn't just money, it was movement, a quiet but deliberate military foothold. Argentina's skies, once unguarded, began to hum with the sound of F-16 Falcons, rumored to be part of a defense loan program. In this, so we call it economic rescue, America wasn't just reviving a nation, it was rearming an ally. The bailout became a blueprint for battlefield readiness. As the ink dried on the agreement, satellite imagery began revealing the true scale of the operation. New airfields under construction near Mendoza, naval bases along the South Atlantic coastline being modernized with U.S. hardware, convoys of Abrams M1A2 tanks moving under cover of night. Milei, the libertarian firebrand once mocked for his wild ideas, suddenly appeared on global defense radars, backed by American logistics. Argentina's military started training joint task forces under the codename Operation Phoenix. Washington called it economic recovery. But to defense analysts, it looked like strategic rebirth. The Pentagon's drone division supplied types of MQ-9 Reaper units, reconfigured for border surveillance and resource protection. In return, Argentina opened its lithium corridors to U.S. defense industries, the same mineral-fueling hypersonic missile batteries and AI-powered combat systems. Every shipment, every handshake, every press release hit a deeper intent to counter China's growing South American presence. While the world debated interest rates, the U.S. quietly established a southern stronghold, one that could project naval power deep into the Atlantic and toward the Antarctic frontiers. The $20 billion deal was no bailout. It was a strategic investment in dominance, and the fuse had been lit. But here's where the plot thickens. Days after the deal, Russian cargo planes were spotted landing in southern Brazil. China increased its patrols near the Strait of Magellan. Within a week, NATO's maritime satellites detected unusual signal activity, encrypted transmissions bouncing between Washington and Buenos Aires. Analysts now believe the bailout was just the cover story. What if that $20 billion wasn't financial aid, but defense funding hidden behind economic relief? A confidential briefing leaked to South American journalists hinted at an energy defense integration pact, a secret clause allowing the U.S. to build radar networks and drone outposts in Argentina under the pretext of economic development. The implications were staggering. With those installations, America could monitor the entire South Atlantic, from the Falklands to the Antarctic gateways, a region rich in untapped oil and rare earth minerals. Milei defended the deal, saying, Argentina will rise again, but opposition leaders called it the quiet militarization of our soil. As global powers scrambled to respond, Washington denied everything. Yet the world could already hear the distant echo of Black Hawk rotors, the unmistakable thud of Patriot missile carriers, and the whisper of stealth drones cutting through Argentine skies. Something enormous was in motion, something the public wasn't supposed to see. By mid-year, the impact was undeniable. Argentina's stock market surged, but so did military spending. Defense contracts multiply. American advisors began arriving at joint bases, training Argentine troops in cyber warfare, drone control, and counter-espionage tactics. The South Atlantic, once quiet, became a silent arena of power projection. U.S. destroyers patrolled alongside Argentine frigates, while surveillance balloons drifted above Patagonia's skies, mapping territories, testing response times, and feeding AI command centers in real time across the ocean. Russia and China weren't idle. Beijing increased funding for Bolivia's defense grid. Moscow proposed joint drills with Brazil. The region, once economically forgotten, now buzzed with military motion. The U.S.-Argentina alliance sent a clear message the Western Hemisphere was under new management. Milei called it the second independence. Trump hailed it as America's comeback in the South. But experts warned, when economic aid turns into strategic dependency, it rarely ends peacefully. Every move, every radar ping, every convoy hinted at one undeniable truth. The world is dividing again, not by ideology, but by influence, resources, and weaponry. And this, a 20 billion spark, might just light a global wildfire. Now, the world stands on the edge of something extraordinary or catastrophic. Argentina's economy breathes again, but beneath that breath hums the machinery of war. New jet engines roar over Buenos Aires, factory lights glow at midnight, and the silent hum of drone production never stops. America's $20 billion rescue has done what no financial reform could. It militarized hope. What began as a handshake of friendship could become the next pivot in the global power race, where economic rescue turns into rearmament and financial lifelines become launch pads for influence. Trump and Milei may have written the rules of alliance, a blend of capitalism, nationalism, and military ambition. But here's the question every strategist is asking: will this alliance protect the hemisphere or provoke a confrontation the world isn't ready for? Because when money, weapons, and ambition mix, peace becomes fragile and dominance becomes destiny. The drums of a new geopolitical rivalry are beating once again, and the next front might not be in Europe or the Pacific, but right here in South America. Stay alert. The battlefield of tomorrow is already being built today. If you want to stay connected with every major global power shift, every weapon upgrade, and every military alliance reshaping our world like this video, drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe now to never miss the next update shaking the planet.